Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from GiantBomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about a massive industry shakeup and a spiritual successor to one of Square's most beloved games. It's going to be a good one because we have Mike Minotti on the show. Mike, how are you doing?
Great, Grubb. Thank you for wearing Cleveland Guardians red with me today.
You're welcome. I got to root for something. Yeah, I got
hey, your team is still in there. I mean,
I don't. It hardly counts. It hardly counts them being in there. They won one of their last 10 games, I think, and that one did get them into the playoffs. So I guess, but. Well, look, you owe me pizza. Why are we talking about the Tigers?
Okay, yes, that's true. The Lions did beat the Browns. A bet that I even said sounds like I am just agreeing to buy you pizza at the time. So my question is, do you want to double or nothing it with this Guardians Tigers series here? Before you say, well, I don't think the Tigers are going to win. Why did you think that the Browns were going to win?
Of course I'll do it. Yeah, that we're doing for the whole series.
The whole series, baby.
Yeah, all right. It's what is it? Best of 3, best of 5? I can't remember what the wild
who
card
knows? I haven't looked into that yet. I know they start playing on Tuesday.
Yeah, they start tomorrow.
What's double a pizza?
Pizza. I think is how it goes. So you got to give me Little Caesars pizza.
Okay, so like I'll have to get you breadstucks also.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah.
Now, to be clear. I don't want Little Caesars. I'm gonna be pretty posh and get some like Papa John's or something. So you might have to get me some cheese sticks or boneless chicken wings.
I do have a question, Mike.
Yo.
Do you understand the concept of double or nothing?
Yeah, it's twice as much.
Or nothing. Yes. Now, which side of this do you think you're on right now?
The side that's gonna get pizza.
No. That's not how it works, son. Do you want to make a separate pizza bet or double or nothing? Double or nothing would be I get twice the pizza, or you get nothing, or nothing. Like I get nothing. If
we still could both get the double part of it.
It's like right now you owe me pizza, so double or nothing would be like your winning would be you don't owe me a piece of, or a pizza anymore after that.
Wow.
That's how double or nothing works.
You know what's great? I clearly don't have a gambling problem. I don't even know how this works.
Jan is like cringing back there right now. He's deeply upset with you.
All right. Well, sure then. We'll do that. I just want to get out and buy you a pizza.
Let's just do yes, I'll buy you a pizza. We'll just do a pizza exchange. I'll be fine with that. That works for me.
Double or nothing. I'm a man of my word. I understand the concept now. Don't worry.
All right, looking for it. Double or nothing's when it's like, even as a kid, like I would do that with my brothers or whatever. So, been gambling my whole life, I guess. Mike, how are you doing? Otherwise, it's we got news we got to get to in here in a second. But I'm not happy to talk about some of it, so kind of avoiding it.
Yeah, I was spending the morning kind of just researching, catching up on things, trying to understand what the current state of affairs means. I saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit in the theaters yesterday.
Oh, that's
that
fun.
Was nice.
That's a good time.
Boy, I really should just be Eddie Valiant for Halloween. It's just a matter of like, it'll be a slightly more expensive costume. And do I want to shave the beard and deal with that?
But once you have it, right? Like that's when you could cosplay as that for the rest of your life.
It's true. And like, I would definitely have to get like, it'll be pretty clear who I am with it. But like, I want to get like a little Roger Rabbit plushie and like put him on my shoulder just to really drive it home.
Yeah, but you'd also have a Roger Rabbit plushie, and that's a positive too.
I think I'm just mostly excited about how high up his waist he wears his pants. Right?
Yeah, it's impressive.
It's like a powerful move, and I want that for me.
Right, you walk in the room with your pants that high, and people take notice, and they stand back. It's a scary thing.
Yeah. I have a very different voice for Bob Hoskins, though. I don't know if I can pull that part off. I don't have to,
Can you do like... you just got to do like a slightly New York accent, right? You just kind of have to do a city accent.
It's so deep, though. It's in L.A., but you're right.
He's doing a city accent.
He's doing a city, yeah. He's like, why would anyone take the freeway? We could take the red car for our nickel.
Yeah, that's good enough.
It's not enough. That far from my pack.
Right. You start mumbling like 5% more, it's basically just pack.
Yeah.
All right, we should get into the show and explain who we are, what we do here. We're Giant Bomb, bunch of video game doofuses. We're independent games media. We're out here on our own. That means we would love to have your help and support to continue doing what we're doing. If you want to help with that, you go to giantbomb.com/join. That explains how you can become a premium member and support independent games media. Because That's going to be more and more important as we go forward, and ominous powers take control of the video game industry. That's giantbomb.com/join. Become a premium member. You get ad-free versions of the shows. We have lots of shows going out each week. You can get your own feeds for that, both on the audio versions and the video versions, depending on if it's a podcast or not. You also get some extra goodies here and there. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game S Mornings, or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with $55 billion deal for Electronic Arts is among the biggest buyouts ever. This is from the New York Times reporting on this deal where Saudi Arabia and Jared Kushner and a bunch of others are buying EA. Jared Kushner's private equity firm and Saudi Arabia's sovereign fund are some of the investors teaming up to take the video game giant private. The video game publisher Electronic Arts announced on Monday that it agreed to be taken private in a deal valued at roughly $55 billion by a group of investors that includes a firm managed by President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner and Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund. The all-cash deal would pay stockholders $210 per share, a 25% premium to the company's share price before news of the deal leaked. If completed, it would be among the largest buyouts of a publicly traded company to date. The deal is led by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, PIF, which already owns about 10% of Electronic Arts. The private equity firm Silver Lake and Mr. Kushner's Affinity Partners will also be involved in the deal. The move is the latest effort by the Saudi fund to advance into gaming as it looks to diversify its investments away from oil. In 2021, the fund created the Savvy Games Group to spearhead a planned $38 billion investment in the industry. The fund's push into gaming is part of a broader bet by the kingdom on entertainment and sports, which includes the backing of Live Golf, that's LIV Golf, a rival to the PGA Tour, a stake in the Professional Fighters League, and major investments in soccer at home and abroad. The Saudi fund was uniquely positioned in the global gaming and esports sectors, building and supporting ecosystems that connect fans, developers, and IP creators, said Turki Al-Nawasar, who is the deputy governor and head of the international investments at the PIF fund. Yeah, okay, so we could try to break this down as best we can. This is a continuing presence of Saudi Arabia money in gaming and in a lot of different fields. They have a lot of money, as always, worth pointing out. Saudi Aramco, the gas company, the oil company that is the backing of that kingdom there, is the richest corporation in the history of the planet. More money than anything else ever. They're not like a publicly traded company, so you don't hear about it like, oh, Google's worth this, or blah 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 is worth this. No, this is worth more than any of those. They are trying to diversify their economy away from a single resource, which has been oil for the last 50 years. And that the idea here is, okay, well, entertainment and media and video games has been a primary target for them. They have invested in SNK and Nintendo. And now this is like the biggest move yet. I mean, we could talk about all the things that what this means for them making games, because Saudi Arabia's history with speech and with killing journalists and with the restrictive rules for women. And all that stuff will likely pop up in these games. Very likely going forward, we will probably see a little bit more of a tightening around the kinds of things that do appear in games made by Saudi Arabia. As far as what it means for the people making these games, it could mean more money, Mike. It could mean like, hey, they got the financial backing of a giant, like behemoth of an industrial power. But who necessarily wants to be working for them? I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to feel pretty icky about this. There's a lot of moving parts here, Mike. What do you think?
There's a lot to think about here. But yeah, so, let's just look at it purely from what is the future of EA going to be like? And it's hard to say, ideally you want to be like, oh, well, you're not a private company anymore. You don't have, or a public company. You don't have to worry about shareholders. Maybe you can think about the art in Electronic Arts again. But, these investors, they are buying this company at a 25% premium. Now, let's let's run off the assumption that they actually want this to be a profitable investment, even though that might not actually be the goal. Or let's say that's the goal right now. And they are going to have to be pretty ruthless with monetization efforts here to make money back on this insane investment. They are going to have to, continue investing in things like microtransactions and free-to-play games, if or hot-shotting more Sims expansions and sequels. So I don't think it's necessarily all sounds like, well, this is great. We're just going to be getting money in, and we don't have to worry about money coming out. I doubt that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think it's one side of this is EA games already feel about as ringed for profit as they possibly can be. They already feel like completely chock full of microtransactions and DLC and ways to monetize the players as much as they can. I think they will find exciting new ways to go to an extreme level of monetization of these games going forward. It is worth pointing out, SNK is kind of in a similar situation now, much smaller publisher. But like what was it? The not King of Fighters, but the Mark of the Wolves, was that the fighting
Fatal
game?
Fury, City of the Wolves. Yes,
City of the Wolves. Thank you.
Right, and they, they tried promoting that thing like crazy, and it didn't even do much. And they, just look how much they interfered in that game at being like, hey, you got to put this DJ in that the Crown Prince likes. You got to put our soccer guy,
guy in there. Yeah,
don't worry about the allegations against them. We're telling you to do that. But yeah, that's the other side here is, and now, I bet even though the goal isn't necessarily about making profits, that stuff's still going to happen. But this is the same reason why Saudi Arabia has invested in things like the WWE and that giant comedy show with even Bill Burr showing up to recently. It's about trying to repaint its global image as this kind of, more progressive and friendly with the West kind of place. Like, we're just like you. Things are great over here. We're so aligned, even though they have a lot of these ethical issues with modern slavery, things like killing a journalist, things like women not being able to drive there until 2018 and them still facing all sorts of restrictions and unequal rights. So that's for the Saudi Arabia. The Jared Kushner part, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe he got just kind of pulled along for the ride somehow.
He has very tight ties with Saudi Arabia and has for a very long time. That has been like well documented at this point, that he is like kind of a little bit of a key holder to unlocking Saudi Arabian money for a lot of people in the West. He's positioned himself that way, and that seems to be, he's a little bit of probably a keystone to this deal, actually. Like, it probably would not have happened without him. Saudi Arabia is deeply invested in his, it says, Saudi Arabia's Wealth Fund and Silver Lake, and then this Affinity Partners, which is Jared Kushner's. That Affinity Partners is a lot of Saudi Arabian money. So it's like, this is a Saudi Arabian deal. Clearly it's, everyone gets that. The reality is, for the most part, if you're a casual observer of games, if you're picking up your Madden every year, Madden's probably mostly going to feel the same, I guess. I don't know. It might, maybe a stadium takes, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I was going to say stadium in Saudi Arabia. Riyadh has a football game and they make a big deal about it in Madden. I don't know.
Yeah, Madden seems like, they're probably going to be happy letting that thing go along. But, there's other things. EA used to do the PGA games, but, Saudi Arabia has its own LIV golf. So are they just going to make a game on that instead? And even if it makes less money, it's like, but this is pushing up LIV golf as a legitimate golfing organization, right? Mm-hmm. Things like that. And then, what about a BioWare, right? So what is, a BioWare company that's constantly being criticized for being too woke? What the heck are they going to say about whatever they are doing with that new Mass Effect game? And, is it a case now? It's like, well, if that game doesn't, kind of misses like Dragon Age did, that's okay. We're happy bankrolling BioWare, or are they going to just get cut immediately as well? What's going to go on with Skate, which is in early access right now and is facing some criticism for certain decisions? Gosh, yeah, I just have no idea. The only things I am sure about is that, a big part of the goal here is about that sort of, Saudi Arabia global positioning stuff, right? That, again, they've been working on so hard with things like, forcing a WrestleMania to beat it, forcing it through money, which they have so much of that they can just kind of throw it at things like buying an EA for $55 billion.
Yeah, and this is where we end up with through late stage capitalism. I know that's a term that's been thrown out for a few years, though. Now it's like, clearly, look around. We are very much there. A point where a company like EA, the pathway to success for them is not to make games that win over the consumer. It's not to make the best product, make a better widget than the other guy. It's not Adam Smith outcompeting the market and filling a need. It is positioning yourself and financializing yourself in such a way that you can get bought out by an even bigger fish, and you sell yourself to some of the worst people in the world, at least some of the richest, worst people in the world. And now here we are. We have to all kind of just continue to be like, do we have a say in what happens in any of this? And it's like, of course not. We're all just sort of pawns in these big fish throwing their money around, and we all have to just kind of deal with the ramifications of that. It's not like EA was in some great position of being able to figure out what was going to be next for them. A lot of this comes back to the COVID years of these companies being like, "Oh, growth is infinite, and we have all of this money come in and all these new players, and we are set for the future." And that being very wrong, very incorrect, and that them have to be like, "Oh, wait, we have to come up with new ideas for growth, and we're chock full out of those because we're EA and we kind of suck at this." And now here we are, them just being like, "Okay, the easiest answer is a 25% premium on our stock price. That is clearly something most people will be down with, that most stockholders will be down with. We'll just go that way, and we'll wash our hands of it and claim massive success." There's a chance. I get probably not, but there is a chance, especially because Jared Kushner's involved. This will have to get regulatory approval for foreign investment. But Saudi Arabia is pretty close with a lot of people that would be making those decisions in the United States.
I bet they're going to be just fine. Yeah, this deal has to go through by 2027. There might be some shift in power by that point, but I doubt it's going to be enough to derail the deal here. But, just think about how compatible this kind of ruthless number must always go up capitalism on the, with the public companies we have here. We only have really 2 US-based big public companies in gaming anymore. And I know that they say EA is still going to be based in California, but let's not pretend that it's an American company anymore. Yeah, no. It's going to be Take-Two, which is propped up hugely by Grand Theft Auto money, and Microsoft, which, they do video games. That's not how they're making money, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, we've lost Activision recently. Ubisoft's not even American. They've been having struggles of their own. So, the whole just industry feels like it's in a really weird place, and you have to wonder, like, boy, why isn't this working out? Why can't we have these big video game companies just make video games and have that be enough?
Yep. Now Saudi Arabia will have all your data anytime you sign up for anything in EA, but it's not like they couldn't have afforded to just purchase that from some other corporation before. So that won't make much of a difference. I guess we shouldn't fool ourselves there. We'll see what happens. Like I said, EA was already in such a weird position in terms of just like, if you listen to the show because I just want to know the next game to buy. I want to hear like what people are working on, because that's why I'm interested in that, and all the rest of these workings of the world do not matter to me, and I do not care. I understand. I don't know how much things are going to change on that front. I imagine the games will be a little bit worse, because I think the monetization is going to get even more extreme. And then the sort of the weirdness of like what's happened with SNK games will probably show up in just about every EA project going forward. If you like the biggest EA games, I think you're probably mostly safe. The smaller EA games probably are actually at risk. This is an investment that will be like, hey, we just want the biggest home runs, even more so than EA already wanted the biggest home runs.
Right. So that's why, I worry about things like Skate, honestly, which is still just in early access. Does it ever leave that? You do have to worry about BioWare. And gosh, it's such a shame, because there's so many cool franchises owned by EA still, like Command and Conquer, like Burnout, right? Gosh, it's just the NBA Street, EA Big, remember that? Titanfall. That's the thing. It's not like Respawn's direction is suddenly going to change. I assume they're still just going to make those Star Wars games and try to get Apex Legends to kind of, squeeze every little bit of juice they can from that stone.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh gosh. I think my hopes of Ultima ever being revived are pretty dead, I think. Or Road Rash. So yeah, what the heck? Again, I doubt we see like some real noticeable change right away, but it could very quickly be like, oh, we're gonna start shutting some stuff. We gotta start making ourselves more swift and agile ahead of the acquisition kind of stuff. There, it could get real weird, real fast.
We'll see. Let's keep going here with the headlines. Silent Hill F hits 1 million sales mark in a single day, outpacing Silent Hill 2 Remake. This is from Tanya Garcia at DualShockers. It looks like the only thing scarier than Silent Hill F itself right now is how quickly the latest mainline addition to Konami's old horror series is selling out. According to a Japanese press release and a recent post on Twitter, Konami stated that the game was originally released on September 25th and achieved the sales milestone of 1 million copies sold in a single day, encompassing both physical copies and digital media shipments. In the same document, the publisher also traced a quick comparison to the Silent Hill 2 Remake, noting that the Silent Hill F's sales are not only happening rather fast in all regions, but surpassing the remake's impressive numbers registered last year. The remake of Silent Hill 2 released last year surpassed 1 million units shipped worldwide within a week of its release, but Silent Hill F is growing in shipments at an even faster pace in each region, including Japan. As the latest installment in the series, it has been met with a great response both at home and abroad, it says. Now, of course, this is shipped, not sold, but retail demand is still demand. That's who they sell these games to in the first place. And usually that is based on something like, actual demand from people purchasing these games. It seems like Silent Hill F has done exactly what you would need it to do to sort of reestablish that, yes, we can even do new games in this series. I know there's some butthurt weirdos about Silent Hill F online trying to like cause another culture war around this one. It doesn't seem to me like that's taking all that well, and that this game is actually just kind of hitting, and most people seem pretty happy with it. Even the Silent Hill fans who are like, I'm not sure if this is exactly Silent Hill, still seem to be mostly happy with the game. So yeah, I guess I'm not surprised that it's selling and finding an audience.
I am so happy. I have, maybe for the first time, actually heard you brought up some chuds trying to start a culture war and actually don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I maybe finally did it. I finally curated my social online experience well enough that I don't know what type, and I don't want to know. I have my immediate guesses, but I don't want to know. Yeah, I mean, this game just seems like it's going to over-deliver. I mean, 87 average on OpenCritic, I believe, is...
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that is shocking. I did not think this thing was going to do that well. I think Silent Hill is just in a good spot because so many people, including myself, really loved that Silent Hill 2 remake. So I'm honestly more interested in this series than I have ever been. This game is just releasing perfectly right before the start of October. I know I'm planning to kind of make it my first October spooky game. Really excited to dive into it. Yeah, it's just a great sign of maybe there is something to this new Konami aside from just doing remakes, and they've done a pretty good job with that. I really enjoyed Metal Gear Solid, the Delta. Really enjoyed Silent Hill 2, but it is good to know that they can still do interesting things with these franchises.
Yeah, exactly. I think we talked about it a bunch now, but this is the kind of stuff where it's like if you are an observer of Konami, if you're a fan of Konami games, you kind of need them to succeed every single time. If one of these projects is a major misstep, you can immediately imagine them getting cold feet and maybe pulling back on the reins on everything else they're working on before we get the Castlevanias, before they like do a handful more of the Silent Hill remakes that people will want to see. Before they like get to more of the Metal Gear remakes, before they put out goddamn Metal Gear Solid Volume 2, which I actually didn't include in the news, but they did actually bring that up recently, Mike. Apparently, they have reconfirmed that they are still working on it. Like, yeah, we know. We called the first one Volume 1. We promised we're working on Volume 2. We'll have more news soon. What do you think's happening there? Do you think that's just a matter of them trying to figure out how to handle Metal Gear Solid 4?
I think it's actually just all going according to plan. Again, Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta did just come out.
Just came out.
It's relatively smart pacing of Volume 1, Delta, and then Volume 2. Might be something we hear about at the Game Awards, even. And, that thing's going to include Metal Gear Solid 4. It's going to include Peace Walker. Maybe some others, but at least those two things. It is certainly a trickier thing figuring out Metal Gear Solid 4, a game that has only ever been on the PlayStation 3, than having to port some, PS1, PS2 games, that kind of thing. Games that have been ported a bunch before already.
Yep. But yeah, it seems like Konami's planting their foot firmly in front of themselves with each sort of step forward here, and that seems to set them up for success the next time around with their next project, and it's just very encouraging. And I think Silent Hill F is maybe like the most encouraging thing that they've done so far. It's like, okay, this is fully new, not just copying and pasting and improving things around a very strong core. It is delivering on something that feels like, hey, I didn't know Konami could ever bring Silent Hill back in such a way. They had struggled to do that before. And now, after all these years, they're doing it and kind of maybe doing it in a way that's it's one of the best entries yet. So good for them. And hopefully it's a lot more from Konami.
Making me excited for that Castlevania reboot, which has got to be coming at some point here.
Yep. That has been a long-term rumor that was tied up right with all the Silent Hill stuff and the Metal Gear Solid Delta stuff. So yeah, I mean, they've never confirmed that publicly. So we're still waiting to see what exactly that's going to look like. But you're right. I think we got to find out about it here pretty soon. All right, let's take a break. We're going to be right back. If you want to skip out on these ads for your audio version, for the video version on the site and stuff like that, you go to giantbomb.com/join, become a premium member. You can get to skip out on this. We'll be right back. And we are back. Jeff Grubb, Mike Minotti, Game Mess Mornings. Let's continue with the headlines. Battlefield 6 global release times are out with no plans for an early access or advanced access like we've been getting from a lot of games. This is from Karan Pahuja at DualShockers, who says, last month, Battlefield 6 had a very successful open beta. Its reveal and multiplayer trailers were so well received that the game had a massive server queue even before the open beta went live. The good news is that things didn't just stop there. The game delivered on what players have been asking for, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to know when it's going to release around the world and what time, in the United States, on October 10th at 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time. In Mexico, that'd be 9 a.m. Central, blah, blah, time on October 10th. In Canada, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So there you go. I mostly brought this up, Mike, because I'm a little surprised they're not doing some sort of advanced access. That seems to kind of just work every time. I know some people still are a little bit like, oh, this stinks, but I think enough people people have accepted it, and you pay the extra, the extra $40 or whatever, $40 to $60, maybe double the price. You get a week of early access. Do you think this is just because it's a multiplayer game, they want to make sure everyone's playing at the same time? I don't know. What do you think's happening?
No, maybe. I don't know. I can disagree with you. I'm just a little shocked that they didn't do that. Yeah. Honestly, it's a bit of a why not? Boy, this thing's happening soon. I have to say my excitement for it has been somewhat lessened recently.
Yep.
Yeah, but it does still seem like it's being positioned to probably perform pretty well, and maybe that's why this deal happened when it did. EA is kind of in as good a position as it might be in for a good long while. The sports games are making a lot of money, and they're, for the first time in a long time, it looks like the next Battlefield is going to be a big hit.
I think you're exactly right about all that, because it's 3 months ago, maybe it was 6 months ago, one of the real recent financial reportings from EA was when they were saying, hey, Apex Legends was down quite a bit, and FIFA was really down, or FIFA, EA Football Club, I guess it's called now. Yeah. EAFC really missed the mark, and so we kind of lost a lot of money. And this was after Dragon Age happened, and it was like, oh, did Dragon Age also cause this big decline in expected revenue? It's like, no, that was almost all EAFC. So them kind of being able to change the narrative with hey, we got new games, new sports games launching right now, and maybe we fixed those problems. You don't know. We'll have to report that later. And in the meantime, we also have Battlefield for you to be super excited about. So people are feeling really good about EA in this moment. Will they be able to then take another step after that? That's the question. So it's like you got to strike now while the iron is hot, and it's not going to be much hotter than this than it is in this moment with Battlefield 6 about to launch. And then who knows how that actually like plays out, because people are super positive about it now. Will that maintain once it's actually in people's hands and they have a chance to scrutinize it and see how they really feel about it? We really don't know until it's out. Let's go continue here. Mike, I have a question for you about this one. Parasite Eve-inspired sci-fi horror RPG Parasite Mutant announced for PS5 and PC. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. Basically, the story is that Frontier Hunter Ezra's Wheel of Fortune developer, Ice Sertuna, has announced Parasite Mutant. I don't know. Okay. Frontier Hunter Ezra's Wheel of Fortune developer. So I think that's all one thing. Now, why does it have Wheel of Fortune in it? Is that a reference to the Pat Sajak show? I don't know.
I think it's a reference to the actual Wheel of Fortune, I suppose, which I guess, must have been a concept before it was a game show, now that I think about it, right?
Yes, of course.
Must have been something beautiful once upon a time.
The Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, I get it. And then developer Ice Sertuna? I think that's actually Sertuna.
Is he related to Bib Fortuna?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They've announced Parasite Mutant, a Parasite Eve-inspired science fiction horror RPG set in the distant future. It will launch for the PlayStation 5 and PC via Steam in 2026. Jan, there's a trailer here if you want to show it to people. It looks quite a bit like Parasite Eve. Is there a contingency of Squaresoft fans out there that will be looking for the Parasite Eve spiritual successor, or do you think it needs the Parasite Eve IP to work? I don't know. You tell me.
It could work as a spiritual successor. That does happen. I actually, this past week, finally played through Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is very much one of those spiritual successors without any of the original people. And that is maybe one of the most successful one of those. I mean, aside from Stardew Valley, right? But, it's a very successful one of those. It has, overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. It seems like a lot of people have played that one. So if there's enough of demand, even for a franchise that seems like, oh, no, time should have forgotten that one, like a Jet Set Radio or Parasite Eve, if you make a good one of these, you could still kind of capture that audience, even find new people who have sort of heard about the legacy of that thing. Looking at this, I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, they are just really straight up going for it with that Parasite Eve look. It's got that whole kind of spear grid targeting system thing. People don't know, Parasite Eve is just a really interesting game. It has a really neat combat system that is sort of a combination of real-time and turn-based stuff with this kind of sphere grid targeting what's it thing. The game has always had a really good graphical style, and it looks like they're capturing some of that with a bit more of a modern, and dare I say, a bit more of an anime look to it, but not like some, over the top cutesy anime thing. It looks like it could still work together quite well. So yeah, I don't know, just a first look at this, it seems promising.
Yeah, it looks like Parasite Eve with like 10% of Persona added on top. And I think it's probably a combination that's going to work for the most part. Obviously they'll have to deliver on the execution of making the game fun and making the characters interesting and all that stuff. But based on what we've seen, yeah, that looks like the kind of the right way to do this for that fan base. What happened with Parasite Eve exactly? I think it was a book first in Japan, and that's like maybe causing some problems with Squaresoft ever bringing it back. I also just think that maybe they're like, we'd rather just put our efforts into stuff like Final Fantasy rather than trying to also bring back another classic RPG like Parasite Eve. But yeah, this is what happens. You wait long enough, eventually some other studio is going to take that idea and run with it. And it doesn't. You and I are usually of the opinion that most of the time those spiritual successors miss the mark, but it's maybe the hit rate's getting a little bit better recently. Do you feel that as well? Because I mean, there's more that I've enjoyed in the very recent past. How about you?
It is a difficult thing, but it can happen. Again, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is a very good example of that. Sometimes they do well when they literally have the person involved. Like, Bloodstained is a very good Castlevania spiritual successor, but they have Iga, so kind of a course it is. So yeah, I'm in a position where I'm willing to give all of them a fair shake. I don't immediately just write them off because I think that something about that formula doesn't work. There's always potential, and even this kind of spooky indie game kind of thing. I really liked Crow County from not too long ago, which is that's more Resident Evil. And even though Parasite Eve has a bit of that Resident Evil flair, Parasite
Okay.
Eve 2 went straight Resident Evil, which is why
really?
it's kind of generally not liked as much. But yeah, Parasite Eve 1 is the one that still kind of stands out as being pretty unique. And that's the one that is still so unique that, yeah, you can just kind of make a game saying, let's try to be like that again. It'll still feel very distinct.
Yep, absolutely. Do you think that there's a chance that like we could start seeing a lot more of these spiritual successors to specifically that era of SquareSoft games? People keep bringing up like Vagrant Story in chat. Like that's one I could like see someone picking up the torch and carrying that and it mostly working. I guess I don't know how much people really are out there clamoring for Vagrant Story. I like it a lot, but it's not one I hear brought up all the time outside of our chat here.
Pretty small cult following still, I would say. I think
Yeah.
Vagrant's, you could, there's a lot of people who are capturing that PS1 aesthetic. And by the way, Crow Country, not Crow County. As I was saying it in my mind, I was like, I have a 50-50 chance of getting this. I'm just going to commit and go for it.
I could not have told you which one was correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Parasite Eve and Vagrant Story are definitely the two that stand out as the most obvious.
Yeah, but Parasite Eve definitely is a step above, right? Parasite Eve felt like Parasite Eve was like on a lot of magazine covers and felt like, oh, this is from the people that were doing Final Fantasy VII, and now they're doing this game that kind of has a little bit of Resident Evil vibe.
Right.
I don't know, it felt bigger.
Well, Parasite Eve was 1998, so that's in the height of Square Enix's PS1 powers. Vagrant Story was a bit more of a late PS1 game. Give me a Threads of Fate spiritual successor. If you want to play an underrated PlayStation 1 Square Enix game, Threads of Fate, everybody. That's what we need more of.
Did you see that, like the latest sort of Chrono Trigger inspired game? I think it's Threads of Time. Was that the?
Yeah, that's one. There's always a new Chrono Trigger.
There's always a new one, right?
And sometimes they're pretty good. Like Sea of Stars was kind of one of those, and it was a very good one.
Jan, actually, I'm going to put it in chat here, this Threads of Time trailer. Go ahead and play this one for everybody as well. I just think it looks really nice overall. How are you feeling about like other people doing this HD 2D stuff? Because this is like a different take on that. Obviously, this is not Square Enix's HD 2D. Mm-hmm. But whenever I see this stuff, I'm like, I get pleased because I think a lot... I eventually just want the Pokemon Company and Game Freak to go back to do a Pokemon in this style. And I think the more we get this stuff, the more likely that is to happen, although I'm probably wrong about that. But I just think most RPGs that aren't trying to be the biggest thing in the world should probably be going for this style of really awesome sprite-based look with a maybe detailed 3D world behind it. How do you feel about it?
I mean, just looking at this game, I think it looks great. Again, Sea of Stars, which was an indie game, looked fantastic. And was a similar thing. I'll tell you what, if Pokemon Company doesn't do that for the Black and White remake, which was their last big pixel-based main entry,
a gorgeous game.
If they don't do it for that, then they're never doing it. That's basically our only hope for it. So, boy, I really hope they do, because I still think Black and White looks significantly better than any Pokemon game they have released since then.
I agree. I think the Black and White games are beautiful. All right, let's keep going here. Resident Evil Requiem on Switch 2 wasn't planned, but Village ran so well that they went ahead with it. This is from My Nintendo News. IGN has sat down with Resident Evil Requiem producer Masato Kumazawa, to learn more about how the game came to be on the Nintendo Switch 2. Mr. Kumazawa says that the team at Capcom weren't initially planning to have Resident Evil Requiem on Nintendo's new platform. But after testing Resident Evil Village on the Nintendo Switch 2, which ran well, they decided to try to see if they could get Requiem up and running as well. Thankfully, it proved to be a success, so the team decided to announce the game for the system along with Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil Village. I think this is just more encouraging news. I'm gonna keep kind of bringing these stories up as we try to like figure out where the Switch 2 is going to finally sort of settle in terms of what kind of third-party support we can expect. And there's been plenty of news stories about, and not just news stories, but actual results of seeing some games being running in a disappointing way on the Switch 2. And then there's been some surprising results as well. We go back to Star Wars Outlaws and Cyberpunk repeatedly, but for a reason. I think, the next big bellwether are these Resident Evil games. And people have gone hands-on with the handheld versions of Requiem specifically at Tokyo Game Show in the past week. And those reports have been mostly positive. And I think just hearing the idea of them being like, hey, we tried one of these games and it worked so well. We're like, why don't we just get this other game going? And apparently this has happened on a relatively fast timeline. It sounds like they got the development kits sometime in the last year, and they were testing this. And then they were like, okay, let's do it. And now that game, Resident Evil Requiem, is coming to the Switch too, the same time it's coming everywhere else. So they either fast-tracked it, or the development was easy enough or simple enough that they could justify putting the resources onto it and getting the Switch 2 version out at the same time as everything else. Either way, I come away from this continuing to be pretty encouraged. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the ones I'm still really excited about are those remakes. So I assume eventually you get RE2 remake, RE3 remake, RE4 remake. And those are probably going to also look surprisingly great on the Switch 2, which is really fun to think about. But yeah, it's encouraging. I'm always constantly kind of wondering and worrying about third-party ports on the Switch 2, because we've seen some, like a Street Fighter 6, hearing about this. There was one recently. Everybody's like, "Oh, we can't believe how well this one's looking." We hear about some that are doing surprisingly well. Then there's others like Hitman 2, and it's like, why is this one not feeling great? And others like that. A lot of it, people, who know more about hardware than me, might be more CPU gating than anything else. Yeah, Star Wars Outlaws just had that recent, very good one. So yeah, this is exciting stuff. Capcom makes a lot of games that I would like to see brought to Switch 2. Now, I'm still not optimistic about the more open world RE engine games like Monster Hunter, Wilds, or Dragon's Dogma.
They don't run great anywhere, so yeah.
They don't run great anywhere. And but Monster Hunter Wilds especially, boy, that's one that I think they want to put on Switch 2. So I wonder if they just kind of try anyways. And what the heck does that look like?
It definitely seemed like when they were talking about it during their last financial report, Monster Hunter, that is, and the Switch 2, they were implying that they had another Monster Hunter, like, in the next couple of years that would be specifically for the Switch. And at that point, they can then put that on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, just like they did with Rise, and sort of go forward with that one, which is probably something they might internally be looking forward to, so they could reset the feeling on Monster Hunter towards Wilds, away from that towards something else, which might be helpful for them.
That's kind of the weird, like, in theory, that seems like kind of a strange thing, but as somebody who liked Rise more than I liked Wilds, I'm like, yeah, give me Rise 2, actually. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be great to see, for sure. So, I said this was encouraging. Third-party support on Switch 2 seems to be in a good place in terms of performance. But when I was looking at this story, and I was kind of seeing it in a couple places, I was also seeing the comments on places like IGN and a handful of other places. And boy, people are just like, and in this chat right now, people are saying this. Hey, this is great. I'm not getting this game because it's on a game key card. That still seems to be a major hang-up. Like, obviously, that's not everybody, but it is like, it does come up first. Like, the people that are into games on the Switch are still very upset about these things. There has been that recent pushback from some publishers being like, hey, it's about the game card speeds. They're not fast enough. We need to be able to install this thing. And that seemed, people are like, okay, maybe we didn't think about that. But also, I don't think that has changed most people's minds about, well, that's great, but I don't care. I'm not going to buy a game key card just because it solves a problem for you. We are probably still in a position where this needs to break one way or the other, right? Where Nintendo needs to either just say, hey, we're never going to do anything else. It's just going to be game key cards, or begin offering some other solution so that people can put out these games on real game cards.
It's a situation where it's just impossible to tell what Nintendo's thinking and what they do, because you could just see them never actually really talking about it and just going. You can see them offering some kind of lifeline to these developers and publishers, making some kind of better cart option. But, you have people like, I forget if Square Enix or Capcom saying, hey, it's not, about the storage. It's just about speed. That's why we want you to have to install the game on your console. And it's like, well, I was like, okay, is that what's going on here? Gosh, I don't know what the solution is. Maybe this, I bet part of it would be if they stopped making, it's not just that we have the game cards, they also make the boxes so much uglier, the disclaimer for the key cards.
So sucks to look at.
Which I guess you want there, but boy, it just ruins the box art and the appeal of owning a physical game. Now, my solution, Jeff, and I think it's the one that, I don't think the physical collection one here, is that I just kind of given up on getting the physical games, right? And
Same.
It sucks a bit, but I'm like, yeah, you've convinced me. It's not the way to go, I guess. I guess I'm not going to do that anymore. Now, I have no problem with people. In fact, I kind of like the idea of other people still pressuring these companies into making that experience better. but I don't know how much hope I have there.
You were mentioning like it was one of these companies that said it was the speed of the game cards. Capcom was actually the opposite. When asked about that by VGC, they said, no, this had nothing to do with development. It was a business decision. It's just cheaper to put it on the game key cards. Like,
incredible.
Yeah, Capcom, just say it. That rules.
Just say it.
Yeah.
Right. That was a Square Enix then. He was like, no, well, this is just the game can run better. All right.
And the Star Wars Outlaws team who mentioned the speed of streaming audio was a problem for them from the game key card because the way that they had built their engine for other things that use SSDs instead. Yeah, we'll see. I do think that this side of things has yet to fully shake out. Nintendo's got to offer like 16 gigabyte cards to these teams at some point that don't need that much space. It seems insane that they wouldn't, but we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know why they won't at least do that. It seems like some kind of compromise, but it's Nintendo. Who knows?
Exactly. All right, let's go to this next one. Expect the third entry in the Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy to change things up again. This is from Jake Valentine at DualShockers, but I'm just going to read this quote here. Let's see. This is from, is it Naoki Hamaguchi? Yes, Naoki Hamaguchi, who says, but moving forward to the third game in this series, obviously I can't say exactly what it is, but I don't want to deliver just exactly the same style of gameplay experience as we had with Rebirth. Again, we're going to evolve it and change it again to give another different and fresh take on Final Fantasy VII gameplay. Now, it's worth pointing out that from Final Fantasy VII Remake to Rebirth, they did go from kind of a linear game to a game that had an openish world, an open world where you were exploring, kind of doing things, you were finding things on your own to do. So that there's already been a change from one entry to the next. I get the sense that he's probably talking about something along those lines and not necessarily about like vastly changing up how the combat works. But I don't know. You like these games a lot, Mike. What do you think when you hear that?
Yeah, I wonder because, the last third of Final Fantasy VII, you could see how it's not going to be as maybe a big open thing as the second third of Final Fantasy VII was. Like even just in the base game, that was always where most of the open world kind of running around was happening. But if you have linear, you have open world, what's the third thing? Actually, I'm not entirely sure what that would mean. At least
a mini game collection, I guess. Rebirth was kind of like that.
And I loved it. I loved all the stupid mini games. There are things they can do with, I don't know, because not huge spoilers here, but the multiverse shenanigans are ramping up. So I don't know if that's part of it. What necessarily that means. I'm very curious what the direction is going to be for part 3. I didn't hate the ending as much as some people, but I also am sort of hoping that it doesn't fully dive into the implications of some of that stuff, or doesn't get quite that. And this is from somebody who likes Kingdom Hearts. I hope it doesn't get that Kingdom Hearts-y again, perhaps. But I don't think they're going to abandon that combat system. People absolutely love that aspect of those games. That seems to be mostly unanimous. I'm sure there's some people who don't jive with it, but I think it's fantastic. So yeah, if Final Fantasy VII Part 2 or a Rebirth was the one that almost felt like a little Ubisoft open world (parentheses positive), I bet it's not going to be quite that structure. Maybe it's more of I don't know what this looks like. Maybe it's more of like a Breath of the Wild open world kind of situation. Or maybe even there's kind of an open zone nature, if you will, to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Maybe this is full on open world, whatever that means.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's it could also just be much more subtle than that. The game designers can get really into their specifics, and maybe he's gesturing towards something like that, and it's mostly going to look like the same game again. But I don't know, the way he's talking, I think they have some ideas.
I think it's a little gesturing. I bet this game doesn't actually feel super different from Rebirth. At least not as much as Rebirth felt different from Remake.
Right. I think you're probably right. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was last year. It was February, right, of last year?
Gosh, is that right? God,
so we're going to be coming up on the 2-year anniversary here pretty soon, if that's correct. I guess... Right. Then when do you think we really start hearing about this next game? When do they come out and say the name? And then when are people playing it, do you think?
I think it's still a little bit. I think maybe this time next year we get like the reveal of it. Maybe earlier than that. I don't think this is a game that comes out until 2027 at the earliest, though.
Okay. All right, let's keep going here. A bunch of Lego games might get the Switch 2 edition treatment soon. This is from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. We've seen a fair number of third-party Switch 1 games make the jump to Nintendo's new hardware under the Nintendo Switch 2 edition banner. And now, if a new piece of Nintendo marketing is to be believed, a bunch of Lego games might just be following suit. That's according to a handful of fans who were lucky enough to attend Zurich PopCon over the weekend, where Nintendo of Europe held a pretty sizable booth. The NOE Switch 2 area was home to all of the banners we were used to seeing at these kinds of events. Cyberpunk 2077, Super Mario Party Jamboree, you get the picture. But it also housed a display featuring 5 different Lego games, all under the Switch 2 logo. As showcased on Twitter by Lego Game Museum, Lego City Undercover, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, Lego Jurassic World, Lego Harry Potter, and Lego DC Supervillains, all featured on the Switch 2 banner. Importantly, none of these have been officially given Switch 2 releases yet. Yeah, this one just kind of sounds about right. These games probably all could benefit from Switch 2 editions. They probably look just fine on Switch 1, but you could probably boost the frame rate and get people excited all over again. And that kid audience, that younger audience, if they are buying console games, there is one console where that's happening. It's going to be the Switch and now the Switch 2. Get those out starting now with maybe a few of these and get the rest out by next holiday. And you can sort of just be there and sell throughout the entire generation of the Switch 2. Probably a good move, right?
I want to talk about something else real quick.
Please.
Dan Reichert of GiantBomb.com apparently went to go see one battle after another. This is the same Dan Reichert who gave us endless shit because we might look at a text message if we get one while we're watching a movie at home.
Sure.
This man apparently missed a major plot point of one battle to another because he got up and left the theater to rebutter his popcorn.
Rebutter. So not
rebutter the popcorn. There wasn't enough.
Not get a refill, but to apply more butter.
I assume he got halfway through the popcorn, and the greasiest butter's at the top, and he was really missing that feeling of the super grease. So he had to lube it back up again. This sounds like a person who doesn't respect movies to me.
I've never thought he respected movies. Now I know for sure. We have the evidence before our very eyes. Rebutter the popcorn. You got to just accept the popcorn for what it is. If you're gonna, especially a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, real ass. movie.
Hello. Is this gonna fuck up? Is this gonna fuck things up if I talk on here?
Only just because it's you.
Okay, listen. Getting popcorn, getting snacks and everything is part of the movie theater experience. I am a Stubbs Premier member. Listen, I get reward points for my popcorn. All right? It is part of the deal, and I had to pee. If I was at home watching this, you bet your ass I would have paused the movie and gone and done that. All right?
You're an A-lister? I didn't know you were a Stubbs.
I'm not an A-lister. That's insane. Listen, the online ticket fees have gotten insane. You have to pay like $18 a year to waive those and everything. So I'm Stubbs Premier. I can get in the special line, and I get better reward points. I get 5 times points on those. But A-list is insane. I can't do that.
Yeah, so some people are like, he had to pee. To be clear, he could have peed and gone back to the theater. It would have taken significantly less time.
Okay, Ben Hansen did give me shit afterwards because I did have to pee 4 times during the movie. It's like 3 hours long, and apparently I just missed the worst. Like, I picked the worst times to pee.
Have you ever used that app that like
RunPee? So I didn't realize RunPee was still around. RunPee might have been the first app I ever downloaded in like 2008 or 9. I did not know it was still around, but then I blue skied it and somebody told me to use RunPee. So I got to get that again.
All right. Dan, do you think one battle after another will get a Lego game?
Ooh, I think it'd be really good for that.
Cool. All right.
I think most Paul Thomas Anderson movies would. Yeah, There Will Be Blood Lego would be incredible.
That would rule.
Yes, Punch Drunk Love Lego.
My boy. It's just a Lego man.
Okay, I gotta go. But listen, I would have never done that at home. Different rules with movie theaters. Fuck all of you.
Oh crap! We did get to ask him about Saudi Arabia.
Oh darn it! He would have such insights.
Fuck me too. What did I do?
Look, Jan, if you just stand next to us, you're going to get the blowback. I'm sorry. The revised 825 gigabyte PS5 Digital Edition is now entirely matte black with no glossy finish. If someone got one of these, did a breakdown. It uses like less internal cooling and stuff like that. No other real changes have happened, like to the CPU or anything like that. So it's same amount of heat, same power profile and all that stuff. They're just kind of like going to let it run a little bit hotter. They probably have done testing and saw that they could do that. I'm not too worried about any of that. What I'm really worried about, Mike, is You love the look of the PS5. Are you okay that it's gone from the shiny black to the matte black?
I mean, look, I don't want to act like this is like some big deal, but it is just annoying and upsetting that they keep making the console worse. And again, this is a console where at the Tokyo Game Show, the Sony Interactive Entertainment CEO Hideki Nishino, in a keynote speech, was like, "This is our most successful generation ever. We made $136 billion in sales." It's like, okay, great. Then why are you still just absolutely punching us in the face with all, things like price increases or the drive becomes smaller or getting rid of the matte finish on the console? It's kind of insulting.
Yeah, it's weird. Gaming just feels weird. And it's choices like, I guess not, maybe the matte black who's shiny. Maybe that costs less money. I don't know. But either way, it's like this is all part of a progression of making the console worse and making it more expensive. That just feels terrible. Even as people who very likely, anyone listening to the show, for the most part, if they were interested in a PlayStation 5, probably bought one years ago at this point. I have one. I've had one. I guess I don't have a PS5 Pro. So anytime these prices do go up, anytime these things do get worse, I'm still like, I was thinking about maybe still getting one of those. And this just feels shitty and kind of confirms, no, I shouldn't get one. And I'll just wait, get a PS6, maybe, I guess, at this point. But I think they feel like they got us by the balls. They just feel like they got us. Like, what are you going to do? Go get an Xbox? They don't even fucking sell those at Costco anymore. So how are you supposed to get one?
Yeah, I do kind of worry about just like, really rampant. We barely have competition anymore. PlayStation. That's like, I hope we get more third-party games on Switch too, so they see that as competition more, and it makes them kind of have to worry about that aspect. They don't feel quite as separate from what Nintendo is doing, right? I want it to be a bit more Nintendo versus PlayStation in some ways than it really is right now. So yeah, I don't know. It feels weird. 'Cause again, there's this one side where it's like, yeah, most successful console generation ever, and then there's my feelings about PlayStation and the value I personally feel like I'm getting out of that brand and how much time I want to engage with an actual PlayStation console, and it's just at an all-time low.
Yep, absolutely. All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's get on with the rest of the show. We don't have a poll question from last week. We do have a new poll question that we'll get to here in a second, but we did do the Bomb 12. I will post a blog post today that has a link to the new form where you can fill out your game for this week. As always, we will end this week with a new Bomb 12, which is, the 12 games that really matter to people who are really playing video games. In the meantime, the new poll question, have you ever played Parasite Eve? Yes or no? I'm interested to see like where the audience is at with this one. This is one that I think at this point, a lot of people probably haven't played, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But I bet a lot of people have like heard of it and had interest in it. So maybe they'll pick up that new game that is inspired by it and then go back to Parasite Eve. We'll see. Mike, did you ever like play Parasite Eve? Like play it?
No, it was a game I got last year. Finally, I got the first game. I think I had to get a copy that didn't have the demo disc for Final Fantasy. They missed a demo disc of some kind in there, but I got it, and it's what I really want to play. I might try to do that during this spooky season on my personal streams.
Ooh, fun.
Or something like that. Silent Hill F as the big ones. I think that'd be good. Maybe some other Resident Evil. I kind of want to play Resident Evil Revelations. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good one. Is that the 3DS one?
That's the 3DS one with
I
Jill
played the first one of those.
Yeah.
That was a good time. I never played Revelations 2 though. I always wanted to get that.
I think people like that, but maybe not as much. Barry is in Revelations 2 though, and I'm a big Barry guy.
We're all excited about Barry being back. All right, we'll get the results of that poll question, talk about it on Wednesday's show here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, of course, tomorrow is the Bombcast. We have a lot going on. Mike, do we have a plan for today for some of the stuff we were going to try to slot in for Monday?
Sure. By the way, apparently Revelations 2, a lot of people like it more than one.
Okay, fantastic.
We're going to talk about it soon. I assume we're still doing seventh guest in a couple hours here. Continue our journey through that spooky mansion. Well, see if there's any more chess puzzles we have to do. So that should be it too. We might try to get something else today. Just a good chance we might figure out something fun to do tomorrow. We actually have our meeting right after this. I still have a Mega Man tonight. I haven't figured out anything for that yet though, so I'm gonna figure that out real quick too, and we'll get something happening on Mega Man as well. But we're gonna figure all that out here in a moment. So keep an eye out on the social so you can look for our schedule for the week.
Yeah, Mike is gesturing toward it, but we're trying to figure out spots for No Ghost at the Grand and Lego Party here today and tomorrow. We'll do our best to get to both of those, actually. Rest of the week, we're going to be Blight Club will be back with Dan's new season. He's got his game. You're not going to want to miss it. Mike did finish up Virtual Highlight, so it's time to get on to Dan. That will be at its normal time slot, we believe, at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. And then, Voicemail Dump Truck, UPF, rest of the week will be normal. Maybe a few other things, maybe some quick looks, stuff like that. In the meantime, I think that wraps up the show. Mike, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you for having me on. Let's have good baseball.
I guess so. We could try. We'll do our best over in Detroit. Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Black. Stopping the video recording. Stopping YouTube. Coming back up to raid.